question, Ben.
Right.
And I know this is a really, 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 really hard one because we work with so many people. But favourite artist that we've worked with?
Yeah, favourite artist. I'm gonna say is Nolan Porter.
I know why.
Yeah. Yeah, we did some shows in England, didn't we, with him, and we went off to Mallorca with him.
Yep.
And we just spent some sort of real quality time with him, and he was just such a lovely fella, and he was just the best kind of person to work with. You know, always just chilled out, humble, really appreciated us. Wanting to be with us.
That was amazing. He's one of our most favourite artists as well, and he was in awe of us.
That's mad to think.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's mad to think. But it's like what you were saying about them being just completely different people in America, like not having that level of fame, and then coming here and having that must be so weird.
It used to blow Nolan away. I mean, Steph tells his story on stage. Right, there was a guy that came up. So I can't remember what show it was. I think it was up in Chester or somewhere like that. But a guy came up and showed his arm, and he had, if I could only be sure, tattooed on his arm.
Really?
And like Nolan, he couldn't take it. He
really?
couldn't take it. He kept going, why would someone have it's tattooed on their arm?
Right.
He kind of just blew him away that someone would go
to them extremes.
to that extreme, you know.
Yeah.
It kind of, as you said earlier, you know, when they come over here, it was just like a new lease of life for them. But he couldn't get that in his head. I know when he went home, he was still talking about it. You know, he was getting critics of why someone would have tattooed the lyrics of his song on his arm.
But I suppose if you've got if you release a song and you don't sort of understand how well it's been received for so long as well, it's sort of hard to then consider, oh yeah, that song I made all them years ago actually did what I wanted it to do all them years ago.
Well, most of the time there's a big disconnect between them recording and releasing the song, and then when it kind of starts becoming something that's cherished here in the Northern Soul scene. Yeah. And so it's no wonder really that many of them artists who did those songs had no idea, because like they've moved on. I mean, we're in, Sydney's case, he wasn't even in the music biz anymore.
He was a security guard.
Yeah.
He was a security guard on a film, in the film set. I can't remember where it was actually. I'm asking to remind myself, but yeah, he was a security guard. He'd kind of given up music because he just then wasn't making it. You know, he kind of failed really. Went into a career as being a security guard. You know? And then he found out that there's all these people in America that are raving about his songs and dancing and collecting his records and everything else. You know? So it blows him away when I came over.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about Nolan is two things. We touched earlier was about the travel from the hotels to hotels when we were in Mallorca. Yep. Which what happened was the guys at the Conscious Soul that we were in partners with, they'd put on because they were made up that we were bringing Nolan Porter over, and they'd arrange a car so that every night when we finished down at the venue, it was like 15-20 minute walk up to the other hotel where we were staying, and they'd laid on a car for Nolan, and kind of Nolan refused to take the car. He was like, well, it's really nice of you, but rather go with the guys if that's all right. That's how.
Yeah. Well, we were packing. I mean, we were just about to leave, and that they said to him, then the car's here for you, didn't they? And you could see that he was a bit sort of. He turned to us, and he was like, well, what are you guys doing? We go, well,
we're going down the beach to have a joy.
Yeah, you were. We'll try and get some food, walk back to the hotel, whatever. And he goes, oh, I'll come with you.
Wow.
And we used to go down to the beach. We'd have a joint with him. So it was me,
mate, I could have.
Mooty and Nolan, because he liked a little puff, a little tug. And then we used to go. There was this because you can't get there's no burger joints or anything like that over there. So we used to go up to this German sausage thing that was there. Yeah. And we used to all sit there and eat a
big German sausage.
But I think the sound engineer, Griff, our sound engineer, who tours with us, all the time now. Griff, we'd only met Griff a little while before we went to Mallorca. He'd done some shows for us. It was quite clear that he was a good sound engineer and there was some sort of relationship. But he, at the time, was Mr. Angry. He just split up with his girlfriend. He was proper geezer with a fucking head like full of ex-girlfriend shit going on, everything else, life's crap, this is crap, everyone's a wanker, blah blah blah. He was proper down in the dumps, you know. And he kind of did enjoy that weekend with us, but he still says to now, he went for a chat with Nolan, and he says, and he swears by it, since he had that chat with Nolan, his life has got so much better, and he's now, to put it into perspective, he's now got a lovely girlfriend. He's been for quite a few years now. He's got 3. No, he's in naughty 2, so he's terrible 2. So he's got a 2-year-old son, and his business is thriving, and life could be any better. But he always says it's from that moment, that conversation he had with Nolan, switched his life. And that's
I wonder what he said to him.
Mm.
I wonder what he said to him, or is it just like his sort of demeanour, how he comes across in general?
Yeah, of course. He just gave him some positive vibes, and Nolan was all just positivity. You know, it was just in a real natural, cool, just genuine, soulful way. Yeah, he was just full of just positive vibes, just positive vibes. You know?
What a hero! Rest in peace.
And
sad.
yeah, I mean the the set was changed so much over the years, and there's songs that come and go, and come back again and go, and come back again and go, and there's a few that are obviously mainstays that never leave, and fucking how many shows more. It's just it's never not been in the set, is it really?
No.
Yeah.
It's one of those numbers.
It's one of my favourites.
Always going to be in there.
It's a good tune. It is a good tune, really.
And credit to the signatures. I think we do a good own version of it. You know, our own signature style, which is what it's about. But I even think we do a great version of If I Could Only Be Sure. And a lot of people say the same thing. You know, and I think a lot of people comment on. Probably because he meant so much to us, but that when we perform our own version, a lot of people say it's just fucking it's just got a lot of feel and a lot of emotion in it, and I think that's because at the time, we're all probably thinking of Nolan, you know what I mean? He's rubbed onto us. It's really, really nice. It's a difficult question for favourite artists. I mean, I know Nolan, for all the right reasons, is probably everybody's favourite. I mean, it was a gutter because he was going to come back. We were talking about yearly he was going to come back and work with us, and I was really looking forward to it. And he was going to come back 2020, and COVID hit. We couldn't. 2021 we was talking about coming back, but because it was still opening, we couldn't book any venues and whatnot. So I kicked that out of bed on 2021, and then he became ill and didn't survive to come back in 2022. So it was a double blow really. The one, we'd lost such a nice guy. And 2, we just lost. I think was a path that was going to really accelerate us in a different way of being taken a lot more seriously with Nolan, and he was right up for it. Every year he was like, man, I'll come back every year for a couple of weeks and tour with you.
Another sort of indicator of how important he was to us when we did Mallorca again, 22 was it? Yeah. We all kind of got together and thought we should do Nolan's set. And that's what we did, didn't we?
We did, yeah. Forgot about that.
Yeah. So we got back together because we hadn't played obviously since we did it with him in 2019, and so we thought, we've got this set, we've got 3 sets or whatever that we were going to do. Let's do Nolan's set. Yeah. So we did the exact same set that we did with him. Yeah. Well, with obviously Steph taking lead.
Yeah. I forgot we'd done that.
Yeah. It was
fucking great. Yeah, we did. We did the whole Nolan Porter set as a tribute back to him.
Fair play.
Yeah, I forgot we did that. How nice we are. Yeah. I forgot about that. But when we're talking about other artists, I mean, for me, an artist that we just recently lost, Tommy Hunt. You know, I mean, Nolan touched in a different way, but Tommy I had quite a lot to do with. You know, I spent a lot of time with Tommy. Stubborn bastard, but I spent a lot of time with him. Travelled over to Spain with him. In the car. That was hilariously funny. 24 hours, me and Tom. If we could have done a video of me and Tommy in the car for 24 hours driving across Spain, I tell you, it would have been hysterical if you'd seen it. It was fucking hilarious. And the gig was great as well. I mean, they've all been great. You know, and Sydney, I mean, I love Sydney Barnes. I'm really close to him. He stays in my house when he comes over.
He's a funny geezer. He's proper funny.
He's so funny though. I don't know if we mentioned this before, but when he was last over was in the summer, and our neighbour. He's got the best story. It's just me and Sid were outside in the garden.
Yeah.
And another artist that likes to have a little smoke. So me and Sid have sat out in the garden. It was a really nice hot sunny day, And Sharon was out, I think. She was doing whatever she does. And me and Sid sat outside and had a joint. And he was obviously telling me about all those old stories. Yeah. And then we always used to move on to about the universe and talking about religion and the universe and all these sort of things. And my neighbour, I didn't realise at the time, probably because I didn't hear him, was sitting in his hot tub, the other side of the fence. And he messaged us that night going, I had the most wonderful afternoon. It's you and Sidney Barnes putting life right.
Oh, mate, I'd love to hear his 10 pence on that as well.
Yeah, some good stories that Sid's told me in the past. But not just stories, just conversations that we've had, you know. We talk about religion and the universe and all these sort of things as well. And of course, because we've had a smoke, it goes off the scale. I'd love to hear something from that myself, actually.
If you hear him back, you go, what the fuck are we talking about?
Sharon walks in, she just looks at me and sits in the garden and goes,
oh yeah. Walk straight back out again.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think Nolan, it does touch.
Well, the thing is, since I've like been with you and that, I've heard a lot of stories about it, but it feels almost gutting not to have ever met the geezer. Like all the stories I'm hearing and that, it would have been nice to at least have one conversation with him.
He was
special.
He was a big artist for us as well. I remember getting introduced to him. Well, someone that I can't remember his name. DJ, I'm sorry. Can't remember his name.
Oh, that guy, yeah, that guy.
Yeah, if he listens to this, he'd be really upset. I forgot his name. I can't remember his name at the moment.
Sorry,
Aidy. And I was put in touch because he knew obviously that we were working with artists, and he phoned me out and he said, "Oh, do you fancy work?" Because he was in touch with Nolan all the time, and he said, "Oh, do you fancy working with Nolan Porter?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then I was like, "Shit, this is going to cost us too much money." And I remember me and Sharon were away. I got a photo of it somewhere. Me and Sharon were away for the weekend in Brighton.
Right.
And we were staying in a hotel, and I'd agreed and arranged to speak to Nolan Porter. It was like, 3 o'clock in the afternoon or something. So we were out for the day, and I was like, we need to be back at the hotel for 3 o'clock. We need to be back. Kind of ruined the weekend, really. But she took a picture. I was laying on the bed in the hotel on the phone to Nolan Porter, and talking about coming over and what else. So I was like blown away that I was.
Bet he was proper made up.
Oh, it's that was another dream that's come true. You know. He's a big artist, and everyone knows, amazing soul voice. Eddie Holman's another one. Obviously, we've got Eddie coming over this year. Well, we've only done one set with Eddie, which we won't talk about the actual performance. One of our best performances. I still say actually one of our best performances we've ever done on stage.
Why won't you talk about it though?
It's just another Butlins fuck.
Just another one of those.
Without going into too much detail. Fucking Edwin Starband's fault, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was all their fault.
Barry Collins, it was his fault.
No, you've got to tell the story now. You've got to tell the story.
What happened was, to put it in perspective, what happened was, Butlins that year, the final year of the Northern Soul Weekend, didn't have any stage management backstage. Now, previously, they used to have a lovely girl called Zoe, who we still speak to. Yeah. She's absolutely amazing. And she used to always be like, stage manager through the weekend. And you wouldn't mess with Zoe.
Oh, really?
When Zoe said, you got 5 minutes left, you had 5 minutes left. You wouldn't muck around with her. But she used to manage all the stage, backstage was, change rooms, absolutely everything. Everything used to run like clockwork. Last year of it, Butlins didn't put anyone on stage management. Alright? So what happened was, part of Eddie's contract is he gets this changing room, that change room, he has all this put in his changing room, and he has an hour in his changing room before he goes on stage.
Right.
So Edwin Starband and Barry Collins and Lorraine Silver and everyone have turned up. We're all in our little cupboard changing room, all 10 of us in one room about the size of this. And the other 2 changing rooms, one for Edwin Starband, one for Eddie Holman, they decided to use both.
Oh.
Right? Not really their fault, I'm not really blaming them. Right? Except he is. Except that on the bloody wall, it's written on the wall. But to be fair, they're a big band as well. Plus, Lorraine likes her own change room. So, because no one's told them any difference in their defence, they just used the 2 changing rooms because there was no one backstage telling people what had to be done.
That's what,
So Eddie's turned up, right? Opened his changing room up. I think there was a kid asleep or something in there, wasn't there? Someone had brought a youngster with them who was asleep in the changing room. Right, so the Butlins staff have suddenly realised. Now there's a 4th changing room backstage at Skegness, which basically is a cupboard. that's got a load of shit stacked up in the corner or whatever else, but it's just a little cupboard. Right? So they walked Eddie round to the cupboard.
I bet he was loving that, weren't he?
He turned round.
No.
He turned round. He literally turned round, right, walked out and said, when my changing room's ready, come and collect me and I'll be back. And fucked off back to his room.
Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah.
And everyone's running around like maniacs.
Yeah.
For some reason I ended up getting like clawed into it. I don't know why, because I wasn't part of Butlins' team.
Yeah.
It wasn't my event, but Muggins here gets to go and sort it all out. So I ended up getting driven around to where he was, and I remember walking around a corner, and Eddie was standing there, red velvet dressing gown, standing outside his chalet. Yeah. He's got this red velvet dressing gown on.
Yeah.
He's got a glass of whiskey in one hand, and this great big fucking cigar in another. He's just standing there. Yeah. And we went around the corner, he went, hey there. I was like, I don't know why I'm here, to be honest with you. All I know is you're not round the other side and we're going to be going on stage. And he was cool as a cucumber. They know my contract. Yeah. They know the details. We've worked together long enough. Yeah. Right? When they're ready, I'll come back. And that was it. So I then go running back round, walked backstage, and everyone's in the corridor waiting. Russ is there, and everyone's looking. They all looked at me. I went, well, like he said before he left, when he's changing room's ready, yeah, he's back. I'm going to go on stage. Anyway, people then started realising what the score was, got his changing room ready, which we should have just done straight away.
Yeah, really.
Finally picked him up. Of course, it was like, well, I think he was meant to be on stage at something like 12 o'clock or something.
Right, what time was this?
The time we got on stage was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And what Russ done was he chucked us on stage first, because everyone was leaving.
Oh, really?
Like, we had like 5,000 people in the audience.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay? So Russ went, you left out and do some numbers first. Yeah. Thanks for this.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
And now they've got half hour of signatures. I think they managed to negotiate with Eddie that when he turned up, he only had half hour in his changing room, but he was still insisting on the half hour.
Yeah.
By the time he come on, whatever it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours later than when he should have been on. Yeah. When there was 5,000 people, because it was so late in the day. You've got to remember, everyone's been on it all day long, and they've had all night entertainment, and this was like the late one. I'm sure it was like 12 o'clock, something like that.
That's quite late as well.
By the time we went on, there was about 500 people.
No, it cleared out that much.
Yeah.
I bet that was a bit of a kick in the nuts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was for us. It was one of the biggest sets I was looking forward to.
Yeah.
And it turned out don't get me wrong, I look back at video, I hate watching videos of us, certainly in the earlier days. I just do not like going on and watching videos. Right? Usually the sound quality from phones, all that shit and whatever else. But the Eddie Holman set, I think I can listen to every number that I can see on YouTube, which sounded a nut. Right? We really played really, really well.
Yeah.
To 500 people.
Yeah.
Well, we're expecting 5,000.
But I bet they loved it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and what did he say when he came out on stage? I don't rush.
Yeah.
I'm like,
you know what?
He's definitely don't.
Yeah. Well,
imagine how much I'm shitting myself looking after this tour when he comes over and doing it.
Yeah.
I'm like, make sure he's got a change room, make sure he's got an
hour,
hour, make sure he's got this, make sure he's got everything.
He's living up to the legendary status, to be fair.
Do you know what? He's not like that at all. I spoke to Eddie on the phone when we were booking the tour, and he had a fair point. You know, that's what was in his contract. That's what he expects. He's the legendary Eddie Holman. They know, all right, because he's worked for him many, many times. They know that's what his contract. And when he was talking to me, I was kind of, you know, we're not Butlins. And he was kind of like, thank God for that.
Yeah.
And he assured me that he's not the, and I don't, you know, from the conversations I had around his feet, he's not a prima donna type. But the changing room they put him in, not being funny, it's a cupboard.
Yeah. Well, the actual working with him, like when we rehearsed with him, I mean, he was a diamond. He was great.
Best rehearsal I think I've ever had.
Fantastic.
We came out of that rehearsal fucking pumped. The whole band. He's a reverend. Right?
Is he actually?
Yeah. He's the Reverend Reverend legendary Eddie.
The legendary
Reverend Eddie. Yeah. And then he really pumped us all up, didn't he? I mean,
wow.
I've never known anyone that can pump the band up so much and so quick. So I'm looking forward to him coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
I just remember being in rehearsal with him, and we were doing I Surrender, and we were just grooving around the outro, you know, and you know, we're waiting for him to give us a, you know, and he just let us keep going, and he was just loving it, dancing around the stage.
That's why because our version, I was thinking about this last week actually when we were playing it on the stage. You must have been bored. We were playing it and we extend the end out. You take the guitar solo, Dave does a little solo, and Steph calls it out. And I was thinking, we're gonna have to get used to getting this back into.
Yeah,
like, back in the shape.
Disciplined.
But I think the reason we ended up extending it was because Eddie.
That's what we did.
Extended it in the rehearsal.
Well, you never know. We might end up loving it and ask you to keep it in.
We're just gonna have to put up with it. That's the way we do it.
Don't. Right, quick.
So he really had us all. Pumped.
That's interesting that he's a reverend though. So I'm guessing like that's obviously what he does now, or yeah.
He's a Reverend Eddie Harmon. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's America, isn't it? We're all reverends, isn't they?
Well, it's gospel, isn't it? It's all that, like, the church.
You can imagine how I shit myself when I'm talking to him, though, you know, because I'm really religious and really...
Yeah, God is watching you. And
God can watch me as much as he likes.
I still won't listen.
I still won't listen. My mate Sydney said...
We were stoned in the garden the other day.
My mate Sydney said the universe is all about us. And don't ever go on stage not to stone playing Northern Soul, because we were damn stoned when we recorded it. Oh no,
I can imagine that as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. That's what, when I use it in my defence when we get caught at venues, we just tell them, Sydney Barnes said.
Yeah.
Do you want to like the original? Yeah.
Exactly.
You'd like.
We're the most authentic.
Why do you think? Why do you think?
Do you know what? Actually, when Sid comes over, we're going to get a podcast with him done.
Yeah.
It's an interesting conversation. Well, I'd like to have, because me and him had the conversation about alcohol and weed.
Okay.
All right. That will be a great podcast to do. So
I'm guessing he's on the weed side of the argument.
Well, there'll be all three of us in here that don't drink.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bit biased.
It's going to be great, isn't it? Yeah.
Anyway,
should we do it outside?
Moving on before we get taken down. Smoking marijuana. So, Ben, a couple of other questions I've got. Getting back to the hearing.
Right.
That's what we're here for.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
A little
That's what
bit.
we're here for.
Death Drop.
Death Drop podcast. Yeah.
We've taught together for 9 years, almost 10 years, as we said earlier on.
Yep.
Nearly. We've done nearly every gig together, probably via 3 or 4.
Yeah.
There's only 3 you've missed through COVID, I think.
Yeah. Two
one.
COVID.
Which was only last year. So there's a lot of gigs in all that time.
Yep.
Obviously, we did our stories earlier on before this podcast, and what the podcast is highlighting, obviously, is the awareness working with deaf people. So I need to ask you the question, because you've seen it all. You've seen me get frustrated with sound engineers.
Yep.
I saw you get frustrated last week with one of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
You sat there and went, I'm saying stuff, I can't tell the pattern. So I know, and obviously you've expressed how it is from my point of view, but I'm interested to know, I don't think frustration is the right word, but from your perspective, where you sit watching some of this shit that goes on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, like you say, I mean, it's come up before with, you know, when it doesn't seem to matter how many times you say to someone that once you've got your in-ears in, you can't hear the sound guy unless he talks down a talk back, you know? You can't hear them, right? And I'm always aware of that, and so when we're on stage sound checking, and he's half a mile up the flipping, you know, and he's going, yeah, can you give me a kick drum, please? And he can't hear you. And then he goes, kick drum, and I go, he can't hear you, you know. And then even people in the band who should know better go, Gav, kick drum. And he can't hear you either, right? You know, and I sometimes I'll say to Steph, Steph, can you just say it down the mic? Because usually Steph's the only one who's got a live mic going on the stage of us, you know. And you know, so because it's just something that it's not difficult, but it is something that tends to just be really hard for them to remember to do. Some people, to give them credit, they do it. And they're straight, they're bang up with it.
Yeah, I think it was in the podcast last week.
We
had one on Friday night. I told, and we said wearing a t-shirt, having on the bass drum, everything else. We put in, give me your comments, wasn't it? It was like, you know, let me know.
But to be fair though, that was that the one where she finally got it and started pointing and stuff.
That was the Hunt Stanton lady.
Yeah.
She was really great. She forgot first of all, but as soon as she remembered, she was just like, she didn't have a mic, but she was just sick. That's all I need.
Exactly.
You know? But the one on the Friday night was the complete opposite. You know?
But I'm guessing you have to go through it or watch that.
So sometimes the bit that I sometimes get frustrated. I mean, sound checks are frustrating anyway, unless they're, like when we go out with Griff or and people we work with all the time, they have it set so that it's the most painless and it's really it's great, right? But when you're at a venue and it's someone you've never met before or whatever, it can be, depending on how good they are, because this is the other thing. We bring the same recipe every time. It's the same number of us, same instruments, same setup. So if we have a half an hour sound check with one guy who we've never met before, and then someone else who we've never met before at a different venue, it takes 2 hours. That's them. That's not us. That's them. And so the thing that frustrates me sometimes is obviously with Gav, when he's got his in-ears in, and he's only hearing what's coming through the pipes. Instruments, vocals, right? And so when stuff's happening, when the sound guy goes, oh yeah, hang on, let me just sort something out, and they'll go and they're fucking around with the DI box or something's not working in the keyboards, Gav's then in the cold. He's not, and unless someone says what's happening down a mic,
this is completely useless.
And so quite often he's sat there and he's like, what's happening then? What's going on? Why aren't we doing anything?
I'm in my own world. I don't know what's going on. I'm just sitting with my phone usually until someone.
Until you hear bang.
And obviously the where the danger lies is quite often the clock's counting down, isn't it? In terms of we want to get off stage.
Of course.
And you just think, God, this is taking quite long, and sometimes, not naming any venues, but sometimes there's one guy, and you got 11-piece band, and you've got one guy running around with them, and he's up there, and he needs to go and fix something on the stage. He's
got to go.
He's just like, have another person on the stage. It's like, anyway. Not that I get frustrated.
Sounds it.
Remember I said I don't give a toss anymore.
I was going to say, you need to do your challenge in a week now, then.
Well, it's not just about the silence thing. I mean, I go back to the instance we had in Dis last year. Right? This is the first time, I don't know if we discussed this on the other podcast or not, so I might be repeating myself, but it's the only time in my life, I think, that I've actually made an official complaint against someone.
Yeah, you did, you mentioned.
And the reason for that, I think we discussed it in the first test podcast we did. I don't know if we put it on a live one. And the reason I put the complaint really in was exactly what you said there. Right? The guys told me to play. So I'm playing. What I didn't know, because no one's told me, is that there was an issue with something. So he's gone round to the side of the stage to check whatever he was checking.
Yeah.
And then he's gone, okay, if you could hold a minute.
Like you're going to hear that.
So I carried on playing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, even I've heard it then, this guy in the middle of everyone has shouted mega, shout out! Like, I mean, fucking really shouted.
Screamed it,
Right? And I'd already told him 2 or 3 times beforehand. Right? He kept coming onto the stage, I could come out, I can't hear you. And then he'd done that, well, I was at my blood pressure went to the top of my head. I mean, I was going to rip my ears out, go down and punch his fucking lights out because I thought he was so out of order. I didn't.
No. Can I tell you what you did do?
What are
you going to tell it? Because I loved it. It was the best. Right. If Gav had done that, that would have been one way the story went. Right. But what he did, I thought was brilliant because he just sat there, he's on his phone, and he's like cool as fuck, right? He's just not. And then at some point, a few minutes later, you go, you can yell at me all you like, I can't hear you.
He came back up on the stage. He came out on the stage and started talking to me, but from his body language, as we discussed before, right, I could tell this guy was rattled and he's got the arsehole with me. Right? So he's come up and he started I was staying pretty calm actually, because I was at the point I would have gone and hit him. He pissed me off that much, because that's just pulling someone out. Right?
I mean, that must be quite embarrassing as well. Someone fucking screaming full bore.
Yeah, it was. He was out of order. Absolutely. And so I've never complained
and it's
about
not your fault.
But I put an official complaint in against him.
Yeah. Right at all.
I did. Didn't go anywhere. Venue didn't do anything about it, but that's another story. But he came up on the stage, and his body language came over, and he started talking to me. And I think I turned around to him and said, mate, this is your issue to deal with, not mine. Right? Because I can't fucking hear you, and it's your issue to deal with this, not mine.
Yeah.
And he still didn't get it, carried on talking to me. So,
in what world?
I think I'll get to a point where I'll just switch off.
Yeah, no, it would infuriate me, especially like all your life dealing with the same thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, what's the phrase that they use? If you, it's sign of insanity, you do the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. When someone's doing it to you over and I bet that must be like tap dripping on your head.
Yes.
Like,
it gets frustrating. You know, hence setting up the podcast. You know, it's creating awareness, not just for me. This podcast is not about, you know, people I work with have got to start taking notice, right? Because most people,
because we won't.
My direct team all do, you know, all got to grips with it, as much as frustrating as it can be. But other people, need to be aware more so. Definitely more so.
Definitely.
That's the idea of the podcast. But going on to that, the team, and you included in this, Josh, because obviously, well, we've been on the stage and, you know, obviously here. What adaptations? You know, and I'm asking the question now on awareness because some people get it, and you know, as we said before, some will forget. I get that. You know, we all forget things and what else, but some people very quickly remember. What do you have to do? Does that make sense? What do you have to do?
Like, what as
with me, but
yeah.
What, you know?
What are the steps you need to sort of make to? I don't know. What do you reckon?
How often did you call me a cunt behind my back?
No. I'm a good boy. Told you, I only lied to you on the phone, Gav.
The body language is secret.
Exactly.
You know, from when you first started working with me, to now, obviously, you probably get used to it over the years, but if you fast back to when you first started working, did you realise it, or...
Well, I'll tell you, the first gig I ever did, like, filming you stuff, right? And in fact, it was actually you that had to remind me, right? So you're on the side of the stage, real dark, yeah? And I had this grand plan, I'm going to get you walking out and do, like, I had a shot. And I'm telling you, full bore to your face, I was like, right, so I want you to come out here and do that, and you're just looking at me. And I thought, why is he just looking at me, yeah? Not really cottoned on. And then you just out of the corner and went, remember he's deaf. And I was like, fuck yeah. Yeah, shit, yeah. So then, the whole, like, for the rest of it, I was like, we go out. But it was that little jog up that was sort of enough, yeah. And from that day, I don't want to embarrass myself almost. And go like, oh yeah, he's deaf, isn't he? Fucking. So it's that, you know, but I don't know how you can imprint that on someone else because that's getting them to want to feel embarrassed for their actions. And as we've seen, people don't really like doing that, do they?
I mean, yeah, I play devil's advocate. I think it is difficult if you know, in terms of people being introduced to the concept, you know, if they've not had it before. But I mean, it's like when I'm talking to Gav, you know, I'm not consciously saying look at him when I'm talking to him so that you can, you know, so that it helps. You know, like I talk to you, like, you know, right? I don't think of it consciously because we've been around each other so long now that I just do it, right? And you know that if you talk to him and you're facing someone else, there's a good chance you might not hear it. I mean, there's a chance that you will, but you know, it really depends, and it's so it becomes more second nature as you as you go along. You know.
Do you recall anything where I've answered, because I do this a lot, and obviously I don't realise it. A lot of people don't. I mean, Sharon makes me realise sometimes because she likes to take the piss out of me. Quite often, and this came up a little while ago with someone I was talking about too, actually. Quite often, if I'm, because especially like after gigs, if we're in like the bar or something like that, I'm just, you know, it's just. So what I do is I blag it. Right? So sometimes I think I've heard what they've said, and I answer something different, and some people. That's not what I said.
I've had that with you.
You know what I mean?
Do you know what, right? Whenever I do that, I often think to myself, though, it's not the time. It's not the time.
And that's the reason I'm asking the question, because a lot of people I've realised do that. They kind of think, some people think, he didn't hear me, it's fine. Yeah. Because they know, and other people think, what the fuck's he going on about?
No. And there was a bit of a learning curve with that, because at first I'm thinking, he's just taking the piss out of me here, like.
Well, it was something, you know, one person really thought I was, you know, called me I'm a really ignorant person,
right?
And then we had to make them realise, no, it's not that I'm really ignorant, mate. You just can't hear you.
Yeah.
You know, this is completely two different things.
Yeah, but then I think that's also.
I can be ignorant as well, but like.
It's beside the point. But no, I think that's like again sort of the whole thing, the awareness side of it. Like it comes down to it's a 2 to tango sort of situation. Yeah, like you sort of give you the benefit of the doubt in some cases, give the others the benefit of that, but you've got to try and come to a medium. Yeah. If you're going to have a relationship, you have to come to a medium, you know? And I think it's sort of that learning curve that's probably the most difficult bit, but that is what we've got to try and do here, really.
It's just the whole point of what we try and do.
Yeah.
Not just for me, but when you're dealing with, and you know, there's a lot more people. As we said earlier, 50s, 60s. All my mates in the 60s have to start getting hearing aids. They're going through this now, and they're struggling with it because they can't.
Because
Like,
they've had all their life,
you know, it's not new to me. It's just the way that I've had to live my life, you know. But for them, they're getting a little bit frustrated. I'll pass that stage, mate. Don't give a fuck.
yeah, exactly.
You've got this coming to you. Don't look after your ears, Ben. But the best statement, I'm not going to mention who it was. The best statement someone said to Sharon when they're trying to justify their actions was, "I don't think he's as deaf as what he is. Well, I don't think he's as deaf as what he says."
Oh, really?
Pretty insulting thing to say.
Yeah.
That's pretty presumptuous.
And Sharon was like, "Oh,
Yeah, trust.
yeah. How'd you work that out?" And she said, "Well, sometimes I've asked him questions and whatever else, and he's answered me, you know, or something." And Sharon's like, "No, he probably hasn't. He's just like, if you can't work it out and you've said it 2 or 3 times, he'll just agree to something because it's easier and less embarrassing than to keep trying to call it out. So sometimes I do that. Okay, body language, I kind of try and guess what people are saying, and if it's a situation where I don't want to go through it, I just go, yeah." A lot of gigs, you know, that's why I don't go out. Before gigs and what else. I do with people we know regularly, but that's why some people I keep myself out of the way a little bit and don't take your kit down because sometimes people are talking fucking around the merch store afterwards when it's like a bar and there's this, that, and I sometimes come back and I think I haven't got a word what they said. And they think they've had a full conversation.
Do you ever feel like a little bit? I don't want to use the word embarrassed again, but do you ever feel a bit like sort of like shut away from it?
Yeah. 100%.
Do you know what I mean?
Look, I'm a really sociable person. Right? I'm always up for a laugh. I'm always up for talking to people. But when I get in those situations, I feel myself retracting back out because I can't. It's not I can't handle it. I just don't want to go through the stress of it. You know, it's like it's too hard sometimes just to make people realise.
And that must be sort of difficult in its own sort of basis, really. Because
it's kind of like a split personality. Because sometimes I'm like, you know,
proper
sociable and if it's people I know, obviously, you know, it's easier. But with strangers, like scooter rallies and things like that, I can't talk to. I just can't. You know, when we're standing there and there's music playing and there's this and people dancing and drinking in glasses and it's just like my ears just go. My hearing aids try and pick up on everything else. And that's the other thing people don't understand is sometimes you can be standing there talking to me, okay, but because there's loads of distant noise, the hearing aids decide to pick up on all of that.
that's
so
weird.
Whilst you're even standing there, right, and talking to me, and you're that close, so you would think, that I can hear you, but because there's so much other noise going on, my hearing aids tend to pick up on everything else. So I'm still struggling, even though they're standing there, because you know the glasses or the barman over there, he's like, I can hear him.
He said he didn't drink. He's just the whole drink.
No, but it's a true case, and that's the thing. People don't understand that, you know, and so it's just sometimes it's just too much to deal with, you know. With all that noise going on around you as well, and someone still trying to talk to you, you can't work it out. I find it too stressful, which is why I tend to try and keep myself out of those situations now. You know, because it's just too much hard work, you know. Especially when you hear comments like that, you know. I don't think he's as deaf as what he makes out. That's pretty insulting, isn't it?
Yeah. How deaf do you think I am then?
Well, and as we said earlier on, I'm not having to use sign language. I don't use it. I'm not at that level of deafness. But, you know, as we said at the beginning, is it a more frustrating world not being that deaf? Because when you're not that deaf, you've got your sign language to deal with, and you're in that world, you know. Me, I'm kind of halfway between the two. I'm in the modern world, the noisy world, and I'm in the deaf world, you know. I'm sitting on that line where it's just a bit of a struggle all the time, you know. It's a bit.
That must be difficult. Talking of which, you had a hearing test recently, didn't you?
No.
Oh, didn't happen.
I was meant to have it Tuesday.
Yeah.
You were meant to come and film it, so you forgot.
No.
Well, why weren't you there?
Because you said we was going to do a thing on Thursday.
No, we did in the last podcast say I had a hearing test Tuesday. I was meant to have the hearing test Tuesday, but I've had this bad ear infection and it hasn't cleared up properly. So I spoke to my lovely lady and she says there's no point doing a hearing test at the moment, so I've got to rebook it back in. The other reason was I realised I double booked myself and we had a rehearsal with the Flirtations at the same time as we having a urine test.
Kind of, yeah. What takes priority?
I kind of used the ear infection bit to cancel the appointment to go to the Flirtations rehearsal because that was more important to me, obviously.
Obviously.
No, it was the ear infection. I mean, it's okay now. It's all cleared up, but you know, I just spoke to her and she said you're better off leaving it another week or whatever. Just make sure it's all cleared up. Because if not, I might give it inaccurate reading or whatever. So it's now got to be rebooked.
Okay.
And you're coming with me to film it.
Yeah, I'll be there this time.
Clearly you remembered from last time.
Yeah. I probably I've just now didn't I?
Yeah, it's 2 days late.
That's on the top of your list of things to do.
Now Thursday, it was on Tuesday.
Yeah, it began with a T. Don't.
So Ben, I want to thank you for coming in today. It's been a pleasure, mate.
Very welcome.
Let's hope there's another 10 years of us on the road.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty frightening actually.
10
If we'd
years.
done another 10 years, I'd be 65.
I'll be 64.
It's fucking
Well,
frightening, isn't it?
64.
Yeah.
Can you imagine it? Will we still be doing it in 10 years?
Just to make you feel a little bit older, 10 years ago I was 15. No, I was 16.
Shut up, Josh. That's terrible. It's terrible.
Love you guys. No, it's
You
been
just
good.
hope you make it to 55. Mate.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I don't mean that.
I want to make it to 36.
You know what? Every day's a blessing. Every time I wake up now, after my heart attack, as we spoke about earlier, every day is like, you know, if I wake up, we're in for another day.
Well, to be fair, the way I live my life, I'm on course to have one myself, so touch wood.
Don't say that, don't say it. You don't trust me, you don't want to go through it.
No,
Go through
I
it.
don't.
But another 10 years of the signatures, think it can happen?
Maybe we'd, like, by then it'll be all different people.
Including the guitarist and drummer.
It's happened before.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's not the same band it started with.
No.
And I've always looked at that view, you know.
Yeah.
I think I guess the question is, will demand for Northern Soul still be there in 10 years' time?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think so. Yeah.
Because there's a newer generation of it now, isn't there?
100%.
So
There was I mean, there's been it. I mean, it gets everywhere, isn't it? You watch the TV adverts, and it's like, you know, it's
they
really
can-
kind of
Yeah,
more
it's
widespread
new
than you think.
generation.
Yeah.
New generation.
yeah, well, there was the geezer, the John Newman or something. He had him in these videos, and that was only about 10 years ago, and that's when it's really.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
That was
I'll
just-
be there.
That came out not long after I joined the Signatures, actually.
Is it?
Yeah, because it made me think, hello, this is
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Because when I joined the Signatures, I kind of thought it was give me a couple of year type thing, and
Just for a bit of fun, kind of thing.
sort of. I mean, I think I had bigger aspirations than that because I could see that the market was there, but I probably didn't think it was going to last 10 years. Fucking decade of my life, a fifth of my life in the Signatures.
It's mad.
That's crazy.
It's mad.
But
And a good decade.
yeah, I mean, I my intention is, even if you know, I can't see me ever not playing. We've had this conversation. I can't ever see me. We had it with Darren, didn't we? You know, it's like I just can't ever see me. You know, I mean, it's another podcast but when we talk about the older artists. You know, Christ, Lorraine will be 83. We have to keep kicking her on the stage in 10 years' time.
Wheeler on.
You know.
But you know, in credit to people like Lorraine, when does that passion? You know, because Lorraine, she still loves it.
She loves
it.
Yeah,
She absolutely
100%.
loves being in front of those people, and it's her passion for when she was 13 years old. And I get that, because it was my passion when I was 13 years old. It's my passion when I'm 55 years old, and I can't ever see me wanting to stop. If I had a heart attack and get on the stage and died, that's a good way to go for me. You know, because
I've done it. I've completed
I
life.
just can't see me ever wanting to stop playing. You know, and it does make me think. You know, when will you stop then?
Yeah,
I don't think I'd be able to. It's just
well, I get that with because the jazz quintet I play with, the guys in the jazz quintet, they've all toured before when they were younger, but they don't like doing it now. They want to stay close to home. They're not into jetting around the country or in the back of a van.
that might change in 10 years.
Right.
Time.
Yeah. So they're all kind of
Definitely.
I was like we've got this. There's this jazz club in South London that want us to come and play, and are you up for it? It's they're going to pay us, blah 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 blah. And they're all like, London, no, no, you can't.
Wait, where are they based?
Colchester. And Tiptree, and I'm like, really? Like, you don't want to do it? It's all right.
It's funny actually when we were at the rehearsal studio because we had rehearsals 2 days ago with the Flirtations for a show we got this week. When we were in the rehearsal studio, Sharon was out talking to the other band next door, which was really weird. Right, this is we're going to wrap it up, but it's a really weird little story. So this band were there, another band in the studio rehearsing,
Right.
And they'd come out and they were talking to Sharon, and they were sort of, oh, who's in there then? You know, they sound really good. Who's that? And Sharon was like, oh, it's the Signatures. And this guy stood there, he went, the Signatures? She said, yeah. He went, I think we saw you last year at Hayfrop Park. They're in Essex, right, in a rehearsal studio. As soon as they had the Signatures, they were in Hayfrop Park, up in, wherever it is, up in M40. Yeah. And saw the Signatures play last year. And all of a sudden they were in awe of us.
Yeah.
They were like, the Signatures are here. Well, but before that, she was talking to
Not the flirtation.
Signatures, mate. They're up there. But before that, Sharon was talking to to the girl singer, and they're like, a pub band, great. And Sharon was going, oh, whereabouts do you play then? And she's going, oh, we play in Upminster and Hornchurch. We go to Loughton as well. And Sharon was like, Loughton?
Wow.
So we're all standing there picking other things on the central line, going, not as far as Epping, no.
Yeah, she was like, and generally the way she said it, I wasn't there, but what Sharon said was that, like, Loughton was a real travel.
That's a schlep. Yeah.
And then she's kind of asked the question where we're playing, and Sharon's gone, well, this week we're in blah, 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 this week. And she was like, God, blimey. Absolutely blown away.
That's like a touring musician.
It's a different level. Different level. I can't, 10 years' time, I don't know if I'll be able to do the amount of gigs and the travelling.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows what the future holds if I'm still here.
You never know. You might have a contract that says you need a massive changing room in an hour before the show.
Mate, at the moment, just to get a changing room would be good. Hell, only an hour before the show. We did a show last week in Manchester. We've done 2 shows recently.
See this.
We've 2 shows recently. The Holborn Pizza Express. Great little gig.
Sell out. Sell out.
We've sold it out every year we've done it. The old 120 people. But the changing room there is like a cupboard. It is a cupboard. So we had that one. Then we went to Manchester and we got another cupboard. 10 of us all in this. You can't move. Just to get a changing room.
There was 2 cupboards. But one of the cupboards was where all the cases and instruments were. So it's like, there's one cupboard then. Right.
Nice, handy.
Just to get a changing room, let alone an hour in it before. Most of our changing rooms we try and get out of them as soon as possible because you can't move. And all of us in there for an hour, we'd be like, Jesus, no way.
Don't.
To get to that level, to demand it on a contract must be quite a nice thing.
I bet. In general,
I don't know where 10 years time, I don't know. I don't know where the Signatures will be. Don't know where we'll be. No one knows.
Hopefully, still going strong. Hopefully.
It'd be nice to think
we
are. It'd be nice to think. If the market's there, it'd be nice to
100%
think we were. Who knows? Who knows?
Stay tuned. Watch this space.
For the next 10 years.
It's a long time to stay tuned.
I'll be sitting there in 10 years' time going, sound engineer still done it. I had my t-shirt on. I had it on my bass drum. I told him.
Our first podcast 10 years ago.
He still ignored me. What else have I got to do? Oh, God, who knows anyway. Ben, thanks for coming in, mate.
You're welcome.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Well done, Josh. Getting this one up.
Yeah.
And on to the next one next week.
Ciao.
Ta-ra.